It was exactly 9:17 on a bright Monday morning when the entire glass lobby of the prestigious Ashford Tower fell silent. Hundreds of employees watched as a neatly dressed single father walked out, carrying nothing but a worn leather backpack and a small cardboard box holding a framed picture of his little daughter. The newly appointed CEO had just fired him in front of everyone, calling him replaceable, outdated, and no longer useful to the company's future. No one expected him to argue, beg, or even show disappointment. Instead, he simply smiled with surprising calmness, looked at the towering building one last time, and quietly said, "Check who owns this building." Those 6 words sounded almost ridiculous, and laughter spread across the lobby as security escorted him toward the exit. But within hours, that smile would haunt the CEO, and an unbelievable truth hidden for years would change every life inside that building forever. Before we continue this unforgettable journey, if you believe kindness, humility, and second chances always find their way back, please take a moment to like this video, share it with your friends, comment where you're watching from, and subscribe to Soulful Tales 2 for more emotional stories that stay with you long after they end. The man everyone laughed at was named Adrian Cole, a 43-year-old widowed father whose entire world revolved around his 11-year-old daughter, Nora. Every morning before sunrise, Adrian prepared breakfast, braided Nora's long brown hair with clumsy fingers that had learned through years of practice, packed her school lunch, and walked her to the neighborhood bus stop before catching 2 trains to reach Ashford Tower. His life had never been easy. 5 years earlier, his wife had lost her battle with a rare illness, leaving Adrian to become both father and mother overnight. There were days when grief nearly broke him. But every evening, Nora's smile reminded him that giving up was never an option. Adrian had worked at Harbridge Financial Group for almost 18 years. He wasn't flashy, ambitious, or interested in climbing corporate ladders. Instead, he became the dependable operations manager who quietly solved problems nobody else wanted. When computers crashed, when clients threatened lawsuits, when employees argued, Adrian somehow found peaceful solutions. Senior executives trusted him because he cared about people more than profits. Younger employees admired him because he never acted superior. Even the janitors greeted him by name because he remembered every birthday and always asked about their families. Everything changed when the company's founder retired and appointed 34-year-old Vanessa Rowan as the new CEO. Brilliant, confident, and celebrated for turning struggling businesses into profitable giants. Vanessa believed emotions had no place in business. She wanted speed, efficiency, and aggressive modernization. During her first month, she replaced experienced managers with younger executives, cut employee benefits, and dismissed anyone she considered resistant to change. To her, Adrian represented everything outdated about the company. She saw his kindness as weakness and his patience as wasted time. When Adrian respectfully questioned the sudden layoffs during a leadership meeting, explaining that loyal employees deserved compassion instead of cold numbers, Vanessa interpreted his words as public defiance. Without investigating his contributions or understanding his history, she terminated his employment immediately before the entire executive team. She believed making an example of him would discourage others from challenging her authority. Walking into the warm daylight after losing the only career he had ever known, Adrian felt the weight of uncertainty settle on his shoulders. Rent was due in 2 weeks. Nora's school tuition payment was approaching. Their aging car needed repairs. Yet somehow, beneath the fear, there was peace. He sat on a nearby park bench, closed his eyes, and remembered something his late wife once whispered during her final hospital days. She had told him that dignity could never be taken away unless he surrendered it himself. Adrian smiled gently, stood up, and headed home. That afternoon, Nora opened the apartment door with excitement, expecting her father hours later. Seeing him standing there confused her immediately. Adrian knelt beside her and gently explained that he no longer worked at Harbridge Financial Group. Nora listened, quietly before wrapping her small arms around his neck. She simply said they would figure things out together because they always did. In that tiny apartment filled with second-hand furniture, Adrian realized he was still the richest man in the world because love remained untouched by unemployment. Meanwhile, Vanessa spent the afternoon celebrating another decisive leadership move. Investors praised her confidence. Several executives congratulated her bold decision. Yet by evening, strange emails began arriving from the company's legal department. The building's ownership documents needed urgent clarification. Before an upcoming refinancing agreement could proceed, Vanessa ignored the messages, assuming the legal team could handle routine paperwork. The following morning, however, confusion spread across every department. Bank representatives requested confirmation from the property's primary owner before approving hundreds of millions in financing. The legal department searched decades of records only to discover that Ashford Tower itself wasn't owned directly by Harbridge Financial Group. Instead, the property belonged to an old family trust established nearly 30 years earlier by the retired founder during the company's difficult beginnings. What shocked everyone even more was the identity of the trust's sole living trustee, Adrian Cole. Vanessa refused to believe it. She demanded every document available. Hours later, thick files covered her conference table. The truth unfolded piece by piece. Nearly 2 decades earlier, when Harbridge Financial Group faced bankruptcy, Adrian's late father had quietly rescued the company by investing family assets inherited from generations of commercial property owners. Rather than becoming publicly involved, Adrian's father created a private trust that retained ownership of Ashford Tower while allowing the company to occupy the building under an unusually generous long-term agreement. Before his passing, Adrian's father transferred trusteeship entirely to his son, who never used the position for influence, publicity, or personal gain. He believed serving quietly honored his father's values. For 18 years, Adrian had walked into the very building he legally represented without telling anyone. He paid his own parking fees, waited in cafeteria lines like everyone else, and never requested executive privileges. His silence wasn't deception. It was humility. Vanessa suddenly remembered his calm smile and those unforgettable words. "Check who owns this building." Pride slowly transformed into disbelief, then embarrassment. She immediately arranged a meeting, but Adrian politely declined. The first invitation because he was attending Nora's school science fair. That single response unsettled Vanessa more deeply than any legal document. Even after public humiliation, Adrian chose his daughter over corporate drama without hesitation. Determined to speak face-to-face, Vanessa drove to the neighborhood community center where the science fair was being held. She expected luxury considering Adrian's hidden wealth, but instead found an ordinary father cheering louder than anyone as Nora proudly demonstrated her handmade, solar-powered water filter. Adrian had never touched the trust's wealth except to maintain the building, according to his father's wishes. He continued living modestly because he believed money should provide security, not identity. Watching father and daughter celebrate together awakened memories Vanessa had buried for years. She remembered growing up with parents who valued business success above family dinners, school events, and bedtime stories. Achievement had replaced affection. Promotions replaced conversations. Somewhere along the path to becoming CEO, she had mistaken fear for respect and authority for leadership. After the ceremony ended, Vanessa finally approached Adrian. The neighborhood children laughed nearby while parents packed, folding chairs under the afternoon sun. Adrian greeted her with the same calm politeness he had always shown everyone. There was no bitterness in his eyes, only quiet understanding. Vanessa apologized sincerely, admitting she had judged him without knowing either his character or his history. She confessed that her ambition had blinded her to the humanity inside the people she managed. Adrian listened patiently before explaining that buildings, titles, and money never defined real ownership. According to his father, people only truly owned what they protected with kindness. That was why the trust existed. Not to control the company, but to safeguard the thousands of families whose livelihoods depended upon it. His words struck Vanessa harder than any accusation could have. The following week, an emergency board meeting filled the executive floor. Rumors spread through every hallway. Employees whispered nervously, expecting lawsuits or hostile takeovers. Instead, Adrian arrived wearing the same simple navy suit he had worn on his final day of work. He wasn't there to reclaim power. He wasn't interested in revenge. Standing before directors, executives, and employees, Adrian announced that the trust would continue leasing Ashford Tower under its original favorable terms. There would be no rent increase, no penalties, and no demands. However, he requested one condition. The company must rebuild a workplace where loyalty, compassion, and integrity mattered as much as quarterly profits. The board unanimously accepted. Vanessa then stood before every employee and publicly admitted her mistake. She reinstated Adrian's position, but Adrian respectfully declined. Instead, he accepted a voluntary advisory role focused on employee well-being and ethical leadership, allowing him more time with Nora while helping transform company culture from the inside. Months passed, and Harbridge Financial Group slowly changed. Employee assistance programs returned. Mentorship replaced intimidation. Managers received leadership training centered on empathy alongside performance. Productivity unexpectedly increased because people worked harder when they felt respected instead of feared. Nora often visited the office after school, where employees proudly called her the little girl, whose father reminded everyone what true success looked like. She never understood the legal complexities surrounding the building. She simply believed her father had helped people remember how to be kind. Years later, visitors entering Ashford Tower noticed a simple bronze plaque near the main entrance. It didn't list financial achievements or record profits. Instead, it carried a sentence chosen by Adrian himself. The strongest foundations are not built from steel or glass, but from humility, compassion, and the courage to forgive. If this story touched your heart and reminded you that kindness will always outlast pride, please like this video, leave a heartfelt comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to Soulful Tales 2 for more emotional stories that inspire millions. Special request, comment below with the words, "Kindness always wins." If you believe that humility and compassion are far greater than power or position. As the evening sunlight reflected across the shining glass of Ashford Tower, employees walked home carrying more than briefcases and laptops. They carried a lesson that no business school could ever teach. Titles can be given. Wealth can disappear. Buildings can change owners. But a gentle heart, a forgiving spirit, and the quiet strength to choose kindness over revenge leave a legacy that stands far longer than any skyscraper ever will. And on that beautiful, ordinary day, a single father who had lost almost everything proved that the greatest victory is never making someone feel small, it is helping them become better.